I never thought I'd be the one to get on the bad side of our neighborhood's most notorious HOA president, but here we are. My name's Daniel, and for the past 3 years, I've lived in Oakwood Estates. It's one of those quiet, predictable suburbs where all the lawns are perfectly manicured, the houses look pretty much the same, and the neighbors mostly keep to themselves. Well, all except for Karen Wilson, the self-crowned queen of the Homeowners Association. From day one, Karen made it clear that her idea of maintaining standards was way more important than anyone's personal freedom or common sense. She's in her mid-50s, has this stiff blonde bob that always seems to be judging you, and cruises around in a white Lexus with a custom license plate that reads HOA PRZ. Her mornings are spent patrolling the streets, notepad in hand, documenting every tiny infraction. Trash cans out too early, grass half an inch too long. You get the picture. Most people give in to her demands to avoid the drama. But for some reason, I became her personal project. The real trouble started last year when I began working from home. I'm in IT security, so having fast, reliable internet isn't just a luxury for me, it's an absolute necessity. The old provider in our area was painfully slow, so I was ecstatic when a new fiber optic company started installations in the neighborhood. I booked an appointment for a Tuesday morning, took half the day off work, and figured it would all go smoothly. The technician, Mike, showed up right on time. We confirmed the plan for the cable, and he got to work. And that's when Hurricane Karen made landfall. I was on a conference call when I heard her voice getting louder and louder outside. I tried to ignore it, but a few minutes later, Mike knocked on my door with Karen hovering behind him like a storm cloud. "Excuse me," she said, her smile so tight it looked painful. "Are you aware that all exterior modifications to properties in Oakwood Estates must be pre-approved by the Architectural Committee?" Mike shot me that look, the one that says, "I've dealt with this type before. It's just an internet cable," I explained, trying to stay calm. "The company already has permits from the city. They're installing it all over the neighborhood." I even showed her the paperwork, hoping that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Karen snatched the papers from my hand and scanned them with narrowed eyes. "These permits are from the city, not the HOA," she snapped. "According to Section 12, Paragraph 4 of our covenant, all exterior modifications, including utility work, require written approval from the board. This installation is a direct violation of our bylaws." She said it with the confidence of someone who memorizes obscure rules just to use them as weapons. I took a deep breath. "Karen, I understand your concern, but this is standard utility work. The cables will be buried, there's almost no visual impact, and a lot of our neighbors are getting it too. But trying to reason with Karen is like talking to a brick wall, except this brick wall yells back." "I'll need an application submitted by Monday," she declared, "and all work must stop until the board reviews it. The earliest we can meet is in 3 weeks. Mike glanced at his watch, probably wondering if he could just make a run for it. "Look," I said, "my patience wearing thin. I took time off work for this. The company has all the legal permits they need. The HOA doesn't have jurisdiction over utility services." Karen's face turned a dangerous shade of red, the universal sign that her authority had been challenged. "As president of this association, I absolutely have jurisdiction over the aesthetic standards of this community," she hissed. "If you continue without approval, you'll be fined $500 plus daily penalties." And with that, she spun around, marched back to her SUV, and got on the phone, probably assembling her board members like some kind of HOA Avengers. Despite the chaos, Mike managed to quickly finish the outside part of the installation and promised he'd come back to finalize everything once the dust settled. I spent the rest of my day digging into HOA laws, and guess what? While HOAs have a lot of power, they generally can't block city-approved utility installations. I drafted a firm but polite email to the entire HOA board, citing the local laws and legal precedents. I also checked with neighbors who'd already gotten fiber installed. Turns out, Karen hadn't bothered most of them at all. The next morning, I had a bunch of supportive replies from my neighbors, but crickets from the HOA board. I had an early meeting in the city, so I figured I'd deal with the rest of the mess later. I had no idea that while I was away, Karen would escalate things from petty to criminal. When I got home around 3 p.m., I found the brand new fiber optic cable along the side of my house. Cut, not just one clean slice, but hacked into multiple pieces. The cuts were jagged and messy, the kind that could only have been made on purpose with some kind of tool. My stomach just dropped. This wasn't petty HOA drama anymore. This was a crime. I immediately called the internet company. They were just as shocked as I was and said they'd send someone out. While I waited, I pulled up my security camera footage. Ever since moving into a neighborhood ruled by an HOA, installing cameras felt less like paranoia and more like a basic survival tactic. And what I saw next made my jaw hit the floor. You won't believe what my HOA president did. I was working from home when my internet suddenly went out. Annoyed, I checked my security camera footage, and my jaw hit the floor. There she was, Karen Wilson, the HOA president, sneaking along the side of my house. She looked around like a cartoon villain, pulled out a pair of garden shears, and started cutting my fiber optic cable, not just once or twice, but repeatedly, making sure it was completely destroyed. Then, she stood back, admired her work with a smug little smirk, and just strolled away. I was in shock. This wasn't just petty revenge over our previous disagreement about bylaws. Cutting telecommunications lines is a serious crime. I immediately saved the video to multiple places and called the police non-emergency line. When I mentioned I had crystal clear video evidence, they sent an officer right over. About 30 minutes later, Officer Rodriguez arrived. He was professional and took the situation seriously. He watched the video, his eyebrows raising higher with every second. "This is definitely criminal damage to property," he said. "And depending on the cost, it could even be a felony." I explained our recent HOA drama, and he just shook his head, saying this was far beyond a simple neighbor dispute. He took my statement, a copy of the video, and went to have a chat with Mrs. Wilson. Just as the officer left, the internet technician showed up. When he saw the shredded cable, his eyes went wide. "Wow, this is bad," he said. "You can't just patch fiber optic. We have to run a whole new line." He estimated the damage at over $2,000, not including labor, and said their legal department would be in touch. An hour later, I heard yelling outside. It was Karen, screaming at Officer Rodriguez in her driveway. "This is ridiculous. I'm the HOA president. I was enforcing community standards," she shrieked, but Officer Rodriguez remained calm. He just held up his tablet and showed her the video. Her face went from pure outrage to sheer panic in a heartbeat. And then, the moment we all dream about, right there, in front of all the neighbors who were suddenly checking their mail, Karen Wilson was read her rights and put in handcuffs. As she was led to the patrol car, she shot me a look so full of venom it was almost comical. Almost. The aftermath was wild. Karen was charged with criminal damage to property, with potential federal charges on the table. The internet company fast-tracked my repair, waived all the fees, and gave me 6 months of free service, making it clear they were going for full restitution. The HOA board held an emergency meeting and immediately condemned her actions. The vice president, a retired lawyer named Jim, came to my door to personally apologize and assured me the HOA would not interfere with my internet ever again. But the best part came 3 weeks later. I received a letter from the HOA. Karen had been permanently removed as president and banned from ever serving on the board again. The letter also mentioned she was facing over $10,000 in legal fees and restitution. That evening, I saw her pull into her driveway. She sat in her car, staring at the same letter, her face completely pale. She saw me standing there and opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. For the first time ever, Karen Wilson was utterly speechless. It just goes to show, when you mess around with the wrong person's internet, you're gonna find out. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.